We are the ones who don't know what we're fighting for. Give us a gun and send us all off to war. We are the ones who grow up in violent homes. We are the ones who don't know what's right or wrong. I know. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No more. We are the ones who don't know why we're losing score. Give them a badge so they can send us to the morgue. We are the ones who are scared to walk out the door. We are the ones who don't know what we're dying for. I know. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. Get off his fucking neck. The man makes you know. He can't fucking breathe. The man makes you know. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more.
Warning: this podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. If it's Thursday, nowadays, everybody wants to talk like they've got something to say. Nothing comes out when they move their lips. It's just a bunch of gibberish, and motherfuckers act like they forgot about the I'm No Joe podcast. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode here. I, of course, am your hostess with the mostest. The meter does many things. With me, as always, I have got a glorious panel here with me to get into all the shit talking and shenanigans, the fight announcements and fuckery that have trickled out the MMA pipeline since we saw you wonderful folks last. Before we get into all of that, though, first and foremost, how you fine gentlemen doing over there?
One day closer to Friday, so we got that going for us. And not gonna lie, anybody who is watching this who is a little petered off by my hat can go fuck themselves, because it doesn't say what you think it says. I just wanted to put that out there because I like to rage bait people from time to time. If I turn like this, nobody knows. But for those of you who are listening only, it says PGA Help on it. It's a veteran golf program. There, now the rest of you who were all butthurt for a moment, enjoy being butthurt over something fucking stupid.
I was and still kind of am, having a month of Mondays on today. But after hearing that intro, kind of revitalized me a little bit. I wasn't expecting that one,
Got to keep them on their
and
toes.
I'm just ready to watch some people get punched in the face. I really am.
Yeah, absolutely. I will 100% agree with that. So, that being said, we will go ahead and kick things off here the way that we like to. A little bit of news and recent events, official fight confirmations, cancellations, official rumor denials, or confirmations, just relevant things in the MMA world we feel are important enough to tell you fine folks about in case you hadn't been watching the MMA news over the last week like most people don't. So, luckily, we actually don't have to go back to last week for the first time in a hot fucking minute. We've actually got just forward news this week. So, unfortunately, it's not all good though, because the first thing we've got to talk about is next week's UFC Abu Dhabi card just lost its main event. Khalil Roundtree versus Magomed Ankalaev was set to be a fucking spectacular fight. I don't know how we haven't gotten this sooner with both of those two trying to jockey for their spot in the top of the division. But unfortunately, Khalil Roundtree is injured and out. Luckily for the fans, though, they have pulled a last-minute replacement directly out of their ass. Magomed Ankalaev will now face Bogdan Guskov in the main event of UFC Abu Dhabi next weekend. So it's still technically the same amount of fights on the card. We've just notched that quality down a little bit. Not that Bogdan can't make that an interesting fight, but it's just not quite the same ramifications or level of consequences with a short notice, relatively unranked dude versus literally two of the top 3, top 5 guys in the division vying for a spot to get back a chance at that fucking belt again. So it could still be an interesting fight. At this point, it definitely means more for Bogdan than it does for Ankalaev, but that also 100% depends on the results of the fight as well. So this is one of those situations, we talk about it all the time. It might not be what everyone wanted, but a short notice fight is a short notice fight for everyone involved. So tip of the cap to Ankalaev for taking a short notice main event fight on the other side of the fucking world, because he's still got to fly like 23 hours or something like that to get to Abu Dhabi as well. So this isn't like he just, decided that he was going to be okay with this. Like, he still got to go through all the fucking motions and change opponents on like 6 days notice. So tip of the cap to Ankalaev as well for taking this fight on short notice. I am a little bit more curious about it just because it's a short notice fight than I might have been with Roundtree, but I don't think it's going to be quite as good of a fight. Still could be interesting, just not quite as relevant to the division, in my opinion here. But at least the Abu Dhabi card's not losing any fights, because it really can't afford to lose much at this point to begin with. Moving on, a couple weeks from now, August 15th in Philadelphia, UFC 330 has an interesting matchup put on it here. I guess technically it's no longer current. I guess technically speaking now it is former LFA light heavyweight champion Lucas Fernando has officially gotten his call to the UFC and will be making his debut at UFC 330 against a gentleman by the name of Rafael Tobias. Not terribly sure a lot about Mr. Tobias, but we did watch Mr. Fernando win that belt, and if his past performances are any indication, he could absolutely shake up some fucking life back into that light heavyweight division, especially with people jumping up and coming out of the heavyweight division and the light heavyweight division right now. Adding a gentleman who's semi-established from an organization like LFA, where like a third of the UFC fighters have come from at this point, not a bad idea in my opinion. As long as they're not trying to rush him, they're clearly going to give him a chance to show what he's capable of. They're not going to throw him right into the fucking deep end and let the sharks have at him. I'm okay with that. I think we will be just fucking fine seeing what that gentleman has to offer. A couple weeks after that, September 5th will be the UFC Paris card. We got an interesting fight added back to that one. He's been dancing back and forth, and I gotta say, I admire a gentleman who can do that, but Kevin Holland kind of already showed this exact scenario will not play out the way that you want it to play out if you keep down this road. But we did get another booking at middleweight, not at welterweight, up at middleweight for Michael Venom Page, which would be the last fight on his UFC contract. And it is against Nursultan Ruzaboyev. So they are not giving him any fucking easy fights. And if he wants to go up to 185 for his last fight on the contract with UFC, they're sure not going to give him an easy one there either. Ruzaboyev is not quite a full-on world breaker yet, but he is definitely a fucking potential prospect with some serious fucking skills, and has shown that more often than not when he steps into the damn octagon. So could be a very interesting matchup. Kind of neat that they put the MVP fight on the Paris card. So it could either be a good performance relatively close to England for him, or on the other side of things, if he gets his ass handed to him, a short walk home with your fucking unemployment papers. Either way, interesting that they're putting us on the Paris card, because that card needs some fucking milk right now, I'm telling you. One of the more interesting things I have seen in the combat sports world this week, we all know that Mr. 50K is always ready. Even if you call him 3 hours before the fight you need him to step into, Mr. Ige stays fucking ready. Well, apparently he is not getting fights as often as he would like in the featherweight division, despite him being the guy that they literally will call with 2 hours notice to pick up a main event or a co-main event. They are not keeping him as busy as he would like to be at featherweight. So he has decided that he is officially now moving down to bantamweight, when we, in a time where I would say 15-20% of fighters right now are starting to move up and cutting less weight. Dan Ige said, no. I don't want to go up to 55. I'm going to go down to 35, because that division is popping more right now than 55 is, for opportunity's sake anyway. So Ige is going to cut the extra 10 pounds, which is not just an easy thing, because we've seen that he doesn't walk around too heavy, but that's a whole separate ballgame when you're starting to talk about readjusting your entire style and your frame to go lighter instead of heavier. Ask Jose Aldo. It's not always as easy on the first fight. It is possible, but it's tricky. So I'm very curious to see how they are going to do this, because realistically, if this would have been done a year and a half ago, we could have seen a Jose Aldo versus Dan Ige fight at 135 pounds, as crazy as that would have been. So at this point, I'm not going to say I'm excited about it, but I am very curious to see how Ige does, because he doesn't walk around a thick frame to begin with, and he generally doesn't cut a lot of weight for 45. So this will just add a small amount of weight cut to him. But when you're only 149 pounds to begin with, that extra 10 pounds makes up a bigger percentage of your total mass. And that will make a difference, especially when it comes to the brain and the amount of fluid you need between your skull and your fucking meat sock controller up here. We'll see how it goes. I absolutely believe he has the skill set and the professionalism to get down to 35 if he says that's where he's going. It's just the ability of his body to perform there that I'm concerned about, because we've seen this not go so well for folks in the past. I hope it works out for him, but we'll keep an eye on it for sure. Speaking of moving weight classes, I do think this is extra fucking ironic, because the man who essentially made his name at 145 pounds until his name was a laughing stock and then tried to go down to 35 pounds himself has officially decided that he's moving back up to 145 pounds, but not for what we wanted to actually see, for something a little bit different. We got confirmation this week that September 24th will be UFC BJJ 11, where we will get to witness Bryce Mitchell versus Mikey Musumeci for a catchweight featherweight competition, because Mikey currently holds the belt at 35. Interesting to see that Mikey is willing to go up to 45, and that Bryce isn't as confident in his pure jiu-jitsu down at 35, where he's been fighting, as he is back up at 45 with that extra 10 pounds, especially against a guy who starts 10 pounds lower. So it sounds like Bryce is already planning to do a little weight bullying in here, but Mikey's skill set, I am fairly fucking confident, is enough to overcome that weight disadvantage that he will have against Bryce. But the fact that the UFC was so quick to make this match, when there are literally dozens of other UFC fighters who would like to make the switch over, or at least dabble in the jiu-jitsu world, since UFC fighters are no longer allowed to compete in ADCC, IBJJF, or any real competitions internationally anymore, you would think that they would want to let some of their vast number of world caliber world-class jiu-jitsu practitioners participate in the company-owned jiu-jitsu subsidiary that the UFC runs. But so far, we've only really seen Gilbert Burns, who's retired, and then Bryce Mitchell, who's a fucking joke to begin with. So I am curious how this is going to play out, because Gilbert Burns is a much better jiu-jitsu practitioner than Bryce Mitchell is, and a much more long-established practitioner. So it kind of makes sense when he retired from combat sport, or from MMA rather, to get him in on the jiu-jitsu side of things, especially with the weight that his name still carries down in Brazil. Bryce Mitchell ain't that. So I'm very curious to see how this one plays out. I have a feeling Darth Rigatoni is going to hand him his ass. It's just really a matter of how, but I'm not happy that they're doing it. I am still here to watch it, though. The last one I've got here for this week, I guess it's a double-edged sword, so to speak, because it's not necessarily the best news in terms for the people we're talking about, but for the rest of us as fans, it actually is kind of good news. Over the course of this week, the UFC has officially confirmed they have released from their contracts both Michelle Pereira and Cedric I'm a Dumbass. Cedric I'm a Dumbass is heading to jail, so it's no surprise there that the UFC was finally ready to kick his fucking ass to the curb. But Pereira, after the fucking loss to the Pirate, has essentially worn out what little favor he has still got in the UFC, and they are done with the bullshit, though. So they have sent him down the road. I'm fairly confident that at least Pereira will find himself picked up by somebody, whether it's PFL, whether it's One Championship, whether he goes back down to Combate Global or Shooto Box. He will still most likely find himself somewhere. Whereas Cedric's dumbass is about to become prison currency. So, not everything is bad, I guess. That being said, though, that is what I have got for news this week. Either one of you gentlemen have anything that I might have missed?
Nope, because I've been staying off the socials.
All right. Well, that being said, obviously the kid is not here this evening. He is still at work and then having to help set up for the Legends and Presses event this weekend. If you were in Kansas City, Missouri this Saturday and you find yourself a fan of Satan's Jazz Cabbage, make sure you get down to the Equal Minded Cafe for Legends and Presses. There is a fucking hell of an event going on down there that I am a little sad that I can't make it up to myself. So we don't have our show's, divination youngster out there fingering the pulse for us. So we're just going to give a little bit here, and we're going to talk about some of the fights on UFC Oklahoma City this evening. This one, I will say, they have done their UFC work. There are plenty of Americans on this card, not many Oklahomans on this card, though. So bit of a mixed bag. This is most definitely a hangover card, especially when you were looking at what we had last weekend at UFC 329. There are a lot of contractual obligation matches on this card, but there are still some very interesting matches here as well. So you gentlemen have any matches in particular on this card that you are excited to watch for?
Not particularly. Maybe the main event, but I'm just here to watch people get punched.
All right, well, let's hop into some nonsensicalness here. There's a few mentionables, but there's also a whole bunch of shite.
Yes.
We'll leave it at that. I'm not going to mention the shite because if I don't mention it, it's shite, and that's all we have to leave it to there. There is a prospect that I am interested in seeing what happens with, and it's because I'm on the fence about him still, and that's Tommy McMillan. He came out hot in his first fight, scored a fucking first round knockout in the UFC. Fantastic. But is he going to be able to keep that up? Because there were some things I saw in his first fight that looked like there were some glaring holes that were there. So I'm going to see if he shored those up or not. And he doesn't have a huge test in front of him in Alberto Montes. But, I mean, it's another prospect fighting a prospect at this time. So if I'm fucking doing this right, we can say there's a possibility that Tommy could be a contender, but we'll see if he shored up some of those holes. Because, like I said, he looked all right in his first outing. Yeah, he got the knockout victory, but there were also some holes in there that I saw that didn't look the greatest. So, with that being said, I'm not going to call him contender, but he's a prospect to keep an eye on for a moment there. Fight I am going to throw directly into the trash. Said I wasn't going to talk about these, but I'm going to talk about this one. Tabitha Ricci and Fatima Klein. Absolute waste of fucking time. This contractual obligation. Yes, they're both ranked in the strawweight division, but it really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And yes, the air quotes are indeed correct there for ranked because, well, let's be quite honest, the women's strawweight division is pretty fucking thin, so it's not hard to get a ranking over there right now. My Schrodinger's contender is always going to be at this point Chase Hooper. Because he either shows up and looks great or he ends up getting wrecked. There is no happy medium with him, unfortunately. I wish we could find it for him because, to be honest, I like the kid. I really do. But he's just not been able to pull his shit together. And he has a knack for having a glass jaw at this point.
Yeah.
And, well, being a fucking submission specialist, you can't have a glass jaw because you're never going to make it to the ground if you're knocked out. I mean, you'll make it to the ground, just not in the way you want. But we've seen some really great fucking things out of him. I mean, I hate to say this, but he did beat Jim Miller in a fucking decision, 3-round decision. Now, there's been some other fights where he's looked really good, but his last two get knocked out by Hernandez and then fucking Gibson. It's not a good look. He needs to pull his shit together. And I mean, they're kind of tossing him a can in Mitch Ramirez. So
Absolutely.
if he doesn't do something with it, there's a fucking problem. Um, Speaking of problems, I'm gonna add Jared Cannonier to this side because I think we've seen the end of Jared Cannonier, and I mean this in the nicest way possible.
Right.
He was a perennial contender, always a game, but we've been noticing over the last couple of years this steady decline. I want to see him go out while he still has a fucking brain left, like know to hang them up. Because to be honest, I've always liked him as a fucking fighter.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, he's always made fights interesting, and he's had chances for the title, but he just never been able to make it come to fruition. Granted, we can say that about a ton of fighters because not everybody gets to hold the title. That's just the way it is. Then across you have Christopher Leroy Duncan, who, to his credit, has looked pretty good. Minus, well, he couldn't beat RoboCop.
Yeah.
RoboCop took his.
Lots of folks have that problem though.
But yeah, like I said, it's
why he's got a main event coming up again.
exactly. There's a reason behind that. Buff Obama is Buff Obama, but Jared Cannonier, if he wants to show that he's still worth a damn, he's got a really tall task ahead of him in Christopher Leroy Duncan. And at this point, I think this might be one of those changing of the guard situations that we end up seeing because Jared Cannonier has been that perennial. Well, he used to be the top 5 gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Now he's the top 10 gatekeeper. At this point, he loses this. They're probably gonna drop him out of the rankings because they went to this whole new meta AI shit, which, to be honest, is absolutely fucking garbage. Because anybody who's looked at the rankings can tell they got all sorts of fucking kerfuffled going on there. But who am I to say when to use AI and when not to? I'm not even going to entertain the main event here because it's not worth my fucking time. You literally have a dude who's on the tail end of his career and another guy who fucking hasn't fought since losing the title almost an entire year ago. So, I mean, at this point, oh, Why is this even a main event at this point? This could be a co-main event on a fucking. It could shit. It could be just a regular fucking fight on a numbered card. To be honest, but I will say as a whole though, this isn't the worst Hangover card we've ever gotten, but it's fucking. It's not good. It's just something, and that's where we'll leave it.
Yeah, I can absolutely agree with pretty much all of that. I will say this is one of the cards where I am a little sad that the kid has lifing all up in his face right now, because there are a lot of the newer names on this card that I'm personally not as familiar with as he is. So I would like to hear his opinion on some of these newer guys, since this is predominantly what's making up this card. That being said, much of a hangover as this is, there are still a couple fights on here that I'm very curious about. The first one, if you've been watching the UFC and this show in particular for any amount of time, you would know that we are big fans of the LFA around here. Literally mentioned another LFA champion getting his call up to the UFC in the news segment earlier. This is another outing for another former LFA star in JPL, John Paul Labosniani, taking on Seokyeon Ho. Both guys still trying to establish themselves in the UFC, but JPL coming in with a lot more hype and a bigger resume, so to speak, of recognizable name and talent here. But JPL also cuts a lot of fucking weight. He is big for a small guy, if that makes sense. He might fight at 170 pounds, but he walks north of 200, I believe, is what he said not that long ago. So he's one of those dudes that is absolutely draining to drain down so that he can have the weight advantage, being a shorter guy. Fighting at 170, I mean, it kind of makes sense, because as short as he is, he would look like a little kid compared to some of the middleweights going out right now. But he is a very, very capable fighter at 170 pounds. We have seen that several times. So I am curious to see how Mr. JPL is going to handle his task this weekend. I will say I was slightly curious about Tommy McMillan until he did the UFC clip yesterday, where he was talking about how he barely made it out of middle school and has a hard time reading most basic English, including the cue cards that they were giving the fighters and asking them for their favorite cowboy slang going into Oklahoma City, and he couldn't read the card to give them an answer. They had to read it to him. I get that not everybody has the same opportunities education wise. I am not so naive as to think that that's, the case. But at the same time, there is a set basic level of competency you should have to engage in business. To be a professional fighter, you still have to sign legal binding contracts, and should, to at least a certain degree, understand what those contracts represent, because you can see it. Lots of things you have to sign as a UFC fighter just to get about your basic day. Not being able to read a single sentence in very plain, not complicated English gives a lot of pause for concern in this. I don't give a fuck how good you can punch. If you can't read and write your own name, we have bigger issues to talk about here. The fact that the UFC published that clip says a lot about them as well. But the fact that he was so open to just talk about how he can't read as a grown adult and isn't trying to learn how to in 2026 gives me a lot to be concerned about for his sake. So I am kind of curious about this. I'm a little bit more curious to see if Alberto Montez is going to just completely clown on him and get Tommy out of our fucking way here, because that's not necessarily the guy that UFC wants to put their fucking brand behind. So we'll see how that one plays out. I'm a little less curious, as I am more a little bit petty and kind of want to see Tommy get slapped around a bit now. And I'm not, not going to deny that or try and be fucking shy about it. I'm a petty dude and I like seeing bitches get smacked around. And when you show yourself to be proud to be a dumbass, I don't feel bad when you get fucking handled. So I'm more petty than I was curious originally about this, but I'm still going to tune into the fight for damn sure. The other one besides the JPL fight that has me very curious here, Jose Delgado versus Austin Bashi. Austin Bashi is one of those guys that came in with a ton of hype and hasn't looked bad, but hasn't really shown us enough to justify the hype that he came in with. Whereas Delgado is kind of on the other side of that. Delgado kind of came in with quiet, without a whole lot of hubbub, and has just been really kind of doing the work that they put in front of him. Whereas Bashi's kind of trying to live off that hype a little bit more, but hasn't really lived up to it, in my opinion, yet. So it's a fairly evenly stylistic prospect match, in my opinion, here. Not necessarily either one of them are going to get a rocket strapped to them off a win, but this is a chance for either one of them to show just how good they could potentially be on a card where there's a lot of opportunities to be a highlight. The last one I'm really curious about here, again, not necessarily because I'm curious about the fight, because I'm a petty asshole and I like seeing dudes get fucking slept. The only big boy fight we have got on the card, Alvin Haynes versus RJ Harris. Obviously both giant fucking heavyweights, neither one known to go a full 3 rounds, 7-1 versus 5-0. Neither one of these guys have had their ass kicked very much. Haynes has that 1 loss. Harris has still got his O. This is an opportunity for both of these guys, with the heavyweight division being as crazy as it is right now, being early on a card that's basically full of smaller fighters. The only heavyweight fight on the card has a great opportunity to stand out, kind of like I talked about just a minute ago here. I don't know that either one of these guys are going to be the next big thing, or the guy that's going to be immediately thrown up into, contention, but this is an opportunity for both of them to prove themselves in a division with lots of room for growth. I'm always here for that. Granted, if we get a 15-minute Walrus slap fight, I'll shit all over both of them and never root for either one again. But being the only heavyweight bout on the card, that does give them an opportunity. So we'll see how that one plays out. I absolutely agree. The fucking Baby Shark fight makes no fucking sense. The UFC is so obsessed with trying to make Callum Walsh's girlfriend a thing when her own ability is incapable of making her the thing they're trying to make her. Fatima Klein doesn't quite have the same amount of hype as Ricci does, but I feel like she has a little bit better of a skill set because she's actually had to work a little harder to get to where she is at in the UFC right now. I don't know that she's going to be, immediately in title contention or anything like that, but I feel like she has a better skill set coming into this style-wise than Tabitha Ricci does. She's a little more well-rounded than Ricci is, and if she can come in and get a nice fucking finish of Tabitha Ricci, that could absolutely put her immediately into ranked contention, because she's sitting at 17 right now versus Ricci at number 6, which again isn't deserved, but that's a whole different conversation. So if Fatima can come in, show her actual skill set, shut Baby Shark down, which several people have shown can be done, she could take a whole lot of thunder right now going forward. And with us only being halfway through the year, there's a lot of time for that to carry good fucking weight for her. So I am a little bit interested, even though I don't think it's going to be that great of a fight. I'm just interested more in the outcome, I guess, than the fight itself at this point. Chase Hooper. Oh, what can I say about Chase Hooper that hasn't already been said about Chael Sonnen? Just I want to root for Chase Hooper so fucking bad. I really do. We've literally watched him grow up in the octagon. And to his credit, he has clearly been working on rounding out his skill set and making himself a more full term, or a more full skilled MMA fighter. But he just can't stay consistent with it. I don't know if he's another one that's spending too much time coaching and not enough time actually training himself, or if he just isn't training as much as he should be at this point. But it's starting to kind of feel like Chase Hooper's plateauing a little bit. And I don't want to see that. I think that he still has room to grow, but just wanting to see somebody fight good doesn't make them fight good, unfortunately. Mitch Ramirez, excuse me, not necessarily a world breaker, but a fairly confident fighter and pretty goddamn good with his hands, which has historically been Chase Hooper's biggest fucking weakness at this point. I'm not saying that Mitch Ramirez is going to jump himself into rankings, but I'm saying Chase Hooper better keep his fucking hands up Saturday, because Mitch has got some pretty good fucking throws. So if Chase is getting sloppy or isn't paying as much attention as he should be, there's a legitimate chance he's going to get got. The other side of that coin, Chase Hooper does have great submission and ground fighting ability, and Mitch Ramirez not so much. So if Chase keeps his head on his shoulders and stays in the fight, this could be very good for him. the other side of that coin, if he hasn't been training as much as he should have, or if he's taking this lightly, Mitch Ramirez could absolutely hand him his ass this weekend. And it's not that I necessarily want to see that, but you fuck around and you inevitably find out. So we'll see how that one shakes loose. I think you are spot on with the co-main event. I might not be the biggest Jared Cannonier fan, but I have absolutely nothing but respect for that man. To follow his story and to see what he started as versus what he is now is genuinely fucking inspiring. If you watch that man's story and you see the work that he put in to get from the man that he was to the man that he is today, you better tip your fucking cap to that gentleman. The fighting aspect of his life, not quite as impressive, still impressive nonetheless, but the work that he has done physically to transform himself is absolutely respect-worthy. That being said, just changing your body doesn't make you a better fighter. And unfortunately, we've kind of seen that with Jared. He's had his chance all the way up to the top and shown that he just doesn't quite have that championship level ability, which, you know, to be fair, only a small percentage of fighters really do. But at this point, we are starting to come back down the other side of the mountain, so to speak, on Cannonier's career. Again, much like we talked about a minute ago, not that CLD is a world breaker by any stretch of the imagination, but at this point, if Cannonier really is starting to lose a step like it looks like he is, Christian Leroy Duncan is not necessarily the dude that you want to stand across from, because he's going to give you the fucking business. I don't know that this is going to be a crazy fucking fight, but I will tell you this. Neither one of those gentlemen in that co-main event understand how to have boring fights. They are both allergic to them and break out in fucking punches. So it's not the best fight on the card, but I am absolutely interested in that co-main event. Definitely more than the main event. I will agree. There are some implications coming from the winner of the main event, but maybe not to the degree that they seem to think, because Drickus has been saying all week that after he beats Usman, he wants his shot back at the title. I don't think that is going to mean that, but at the same time, on the other side of that coin, Kamaru Usman said that even though this is a 185-pound fight, after he beats Dricus du Plessis, the only two options for him going forward are Islam Makhachev or Khamzat Chimaev. What? I might be stoned, but I'm not that fucking stoned, okay? That don't make no goddamn sense. Your first fight in a new division against a dude who's barely top 5 at this point doesn't justify you a title fight in 2 divisions. That's exactly why they weren't talking about Max Holloway fighting Justin Gaethje again after him winning last weekend. That's not how that works. A win up in another weight class doesn't open you 2 title shots. I will say, if Usman can get through Dricus in a convincing, non-boring 5-minute wet blanket fest, that will absolutely put him in a top 5 conversation, in my opinion. Probably lower end of the top 10, right around the number 5 spot, but it will absolutely put him into ranked contention. Not necessarily a title picture, but a good win over du Plessis could put him in ranked contention going forward here if he decides to stay at middleweight. At the same time, I don't care how he beats Dricus. If he beats Dricus, that doesn't get him a fucking title shot at 170 pounds. Least of all, when there are plenty of other worthy title contention fighters at 170 pounds who aren't bouncing back and forth. A win could be important for Usman, but it wouldn't really be as valuable on the other side, because if Dricus beats a welterweight coming up to middleweight, that's not going to get him a title shot at welter, or at middleweight rather, because he's not beating a ranked middleweight. He's not even beating a title contention middleweight. He's beating a welterweight guy who, from what it seems, isn't going to be making 170 anytime soon unless they magically offer him a title fight that he doesn't deserve. So I don't know that it's going to be 100% a boring fight, but given the styles that these two both have, I just have a hard time seeing it be that exciting. Least of all, exciting enough to warrant a title fight on either side of the fucking octagon here. There are some interesting ones, but there are also some overhyped fights on this card, in my opinion. But Saturday will tell us for sure. That's for damn sure. That being said, though, that will bring us to the point in the show where we have one particular segment that does require its own individual disclaimer. So, if you will, Tapology.com in no way, shape, or form supports, sponsors, or endorses the I'm No Joe podcast. Yet. That being said, Tapology.com does give you the option to go onto their website, make yourself a free account, and then make fantasy style MMA picks. We do here on the show. They even let you make groups on there. So we made one. It's called I'm No Bookie, all one word, or Group 965, however you need to find it. The group is open to the public. You are welcome and encouraged. Make yourself an account, join the group, and then let us know who you are, and we will hold your picks accountable with ours in a segment that we call Tapology with TJ.
Don't mind me, gotta get the spectacles ready. Apparently my eyes are a little tired. Shit's looking a little blurry on the screen.
That's all right. Before you get into it, I do want to make a disclaimer here. When you have a size 15 triple E wide foot, it is sometimes difficult to not step on your own dick. Just saying.
Look, we're gonna start with this. Then I will address that correctly. To start with, those of you who are listening, either on your podcast platform of choice, fucking watching live on YouTube, watching the replay, we know you like free shit. I'm not going to call you cheapskates. I called you that last week. But because you like free shit, you should go over to Tapology because it's absolutely free. It doesn't cost a dime. Not one fucking penny. There's no sign-up fees, no hidden costs. Your APR will not change because it's absolutely zero because it doesn't cost a goddamn thing. Come over and join us. Tapology.com. Group 965. I'm no bookie, however you need to find it. Come over, join us. Let us know who you are. We'll hold your picks accountable just as we do our own. If you don't want to be held accountable, hide your fucking username or make it something I don't fucking know. So that way I can't call you out. Because, well, I'll be the one fucking calling you out. Now, to address that bullshit ass elephant in the room, excuses are like assholes. This place was a fucking toilet. It would be a fucking airport here because there's a lot of fucking excuses that come around every week why I shit the bed. Whether your fucking feet are big or not. Look, all that tells me is your foot is big enough to really stomp on it hard. That's not an excuse of why you shit the bed. So, since we're going to call ourselves out for shitting bed, I'm pretty sure y'all can figure out who tripped over the dick and then stomped on it with their triple wide E feet. Get the fuck out of here with that nonsense. Just say I had a bad week. Own it. To be fair, he went 50%. The meter did go 50% with 7 of 14 correct. Now,
50% being the lowest in our group,
in the
still
group,
something that I'm fucking proud of because I ate the biggest bag of dicks out of anybody and I still did better than a fucking coin flip. So you think you can do better? Join the group and prove it, motherfucker.
That's it. Now, since he was the lowest man on the totem pole, that means all we can do is go up from there, right? It was quite the fucking weekend. I mean, to be fair, there were a lot of coin flippy fights for me to pick this week. I mean, I did much better than he did at 11 of 14. I didn't win the group this week, but that's because I also didn't get the most perfects. So that did kind of screw me. Christian gets the fucking nod this week for taking 11 of 14, 790 points. We have two two decisions, fucking 2 perfects, and 6 semi-perfects. So we're 15 points apiece. That's 6 of them sons of bitches. Whereas myself, in comparison, in that same fucking area, I was 2 decisions, 2 perfects, 4 semi-perfects. So if you guys can't math, that's a 30-point difference. So it ended up being one hell of a fucking weekend of fucking fights and craziness there. And it was just fantastic to watch. As far as the card ended up much better than I expected it to be, minus the main event. But you know, am I shocked that it went that way? No, because I had a feeling Connor was going to come out and do something stupid. And by doing something stupid, I mean trying to throw a flying roundhouse kick right off the rip. Dude, you haven't fought in 5 fucking years, and that's your play? I'm just saying, there's people on the sideline going, that's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out. And it did not play out well. Unfortunately, you blew your own fucking knee out. Oh, speaking of which, don't be a crybaby bitch. You blew your own fucking knee out because of what you did. Don't fight to try to get it fucking overturned to a no contest. It's not a no contest. You legitimately injured yourself. Therefore, you lose by TKO. That's just how that works. And to be honest, you should be thanking the goddamn ref for saving your ass, because Max would have beat the brakes off of you because of that.
And to his credit, Max tried to stop the fight 3 separate times before the ref actually did step in and stop it. Max was trying, like he always does, to be the better man in the situation. He said several times, I don't want to hurt him. He can't fight. The ref just kept telling him to go. So Max throwing at him and drilling him.
And then on the opposite that side of that coin, at the same time, apparently, when you watch Max's post fight, Connor kept telling him, "Come on and fucking fight." So to Connor's fucking credit, he's still got the fighting dog in him. You got to give the guy that. Yeah, he blew out his knee. Hopefully, he does make a recovery. By the sounds of it, he wants to come back and fight again, which that's a good sign for us, because he didn't seem like he seemed way more stable leading up to the fight than he had in every previous fight fucking on the UFC previous. I don't know if it's just because he's trying to keep his nose clean or whatever the case is, but whatever it is, I hope it stays that way, and hopefully we do see a comeback from him. Do I think he'll ever see a title again? No. But do I think he has a lot of decent fights left in him? Yeah. Minus the fucking leg break, the dude never really took a whole shit ton of damage. So I'm just saying it's out there. But anyhow, we're getting way off the fucking point here of what I'm supposed to be doing over here. And let's move over to the summer shenanigans. I can tell you I am still sitting 7 of 8 over there to Don's lowly pick, but that's because, well, Don has 2 accounts. And I'm handily beating that last account by 200 points. Slightly above me after stepping on his dick would be the meter. He's within 400 points. He's within striking distance. I have a chance to move up to the 6th spot. In the 5 spot, Don's number 2 account, because he doesn't know how to switch between his phone and the fucking computer, which is all right. I get it. Look, I can't fault old people for being old. There's no fault in that. It happens. Unfortunately, those of us who are still young enough to be forward with technology enough, we'll find a point in our lives where we can no longer keep up with the technology. That's just how that fucking works. We're just lucky we grew up around it, so we're kind of used to the progression of things at this point.
I get it. I don't know how to do the tic tac, so I understand him having trouble switching accounts.
That's one thing I refuse to even fucking download. Now, slightly above him, Christian. And when I say slightly, I mean it's by 10 fucking points at the 4 spot. Oh, Flintlock himself over there sitting in the 3 spot, which is only 10 spots above Don, or 20 points above Don. You're getting there. All of that fucking early luck starting to fade slowly. 20 points isn't a big buffer. You better pull your shit together. Donna is handily above them as well, sitting in the 2 spot at 4,200 points. And Christian is absolutely running it away with it at 4,600. I don't think anybody is catching him. I think we only have 2 more events that count. One is this weekend, and then the next one is not until August 15th. Because, fuckery and tomfoolery. But, that is what it is.
Update your shit, Tapology.
I'm just saying maybe we should just cut it at fucking July and then went into August and called it the Halloween fucking hoedown or some shit. But anyhow, 2 more events. unless Christian shits the bed 2 weeks in a row, nobody catches him, I don't think. The 3 through 5 spots, there could be some fucking flip-flopping in there. The meter's not far behind them, which also, as I realize what I'm talking about here, I'm only 400 points back. There could be some really good fuckery to where I could jump 3 spots on this. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but I'm saying there's a chance. So you're saying there's a chance. That's all that needs to be said. With all that being said, let's move on to what everybody actually comes here to listen to, and that's the fucking odds. Because, well, to be honest, talking about Tapology is great, but we're here for the odds because we all want to know what kind of fuckery is going on in the odds world. This week, I'm going to be running off of FanDuel, so just know that where you look, shit could be way different. There are some quite wider odds on this card than we've had in some of our recent events where they've been more coin flippy. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to hit some of the slightly wide odd ones and then hit the really wide odds, and then of course the co-main and main as per usual. You guys know the drill. Start with here. We're going to start on the slightly wide odds here, and we're going to go with Tabitha Ricci and Fatima Klein. FanDuel got Tabitha Ricci coming in as a plus 320 underdog. Fatima Klein, a minus 430 favorite. Slightly wide there. Another one that is worth mentioning here, the Chase Hooper and Mitch Ramirez fight. Hooper is somehow coming in as a minus 355 favorite, which I don't understand. Ramirez is a plus 270 underdog. So, that is what it is there. Like I said, slightly wide. We're gonna get a little bit wider here now. Diana Barbosa and Anna Melisano. I fucking can't pronounce their goddamn names, and I don't care. They have Anna coming in as a plus 410 underdog. Barbosa, a minus 590 favorite. Fret not, though. That is not the widest odds on the card. The widest odds on the card belong to Stuart Nickel and Alden Correa. And I'm probably murdering his last name. But Stuart is coming in as a plus 680 underdog. Alden, a minus 1,200 favorite. Now, think about this for just a second. These guys are unknowns to the UFC. They're legitimately guys just getting their break, and they have this kind of crazy odds. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I don't think this is a case of what we saw last weekend in a gold medal fucking Olympian wrestler who had the craziest odds we've seen in a long time. I don't think Alden is that world breaker as much as they would like to think. But they do their things. If you're betting on FanDuel, know that might be one. If you got a spare fucking 100 laying around, throw it on Stewart because that's an easy $680 if he wins. I'm not saying that's going to be the case, nor am I condoning you to put that much money on Stewart anyways, just because, well, generally the odds makers are usually pretty close to being right, especially when they're wide odds like this. But for the most part, you can only take that with a grain of salt. Now, we're going to jump from that, being as that was the widest odds on the card, we're going to jump into the co-main and main. We both touched on this earlier in the co-main here. Jared Cannonier, Christian Leroy Duncan. Jesus, I'm going to say Christopher. Fucking Christ, I'm tired. Apparently, we need to call it a day. But just as we did touch on earlier, we said Jared Cannonier is getting towards the end of his shelf life, is what I'll call it. They have him coming in as a plus 270 underdog. Christian Leroy Duncan, a minus 355 favorite. I think it's a little wider than it should be, but, and this is a very strong but, we've all seen the steady decline of what Jared Cannonier has been able to produce as far as his UFC fighting, his career is concerned. So it's kind of a toss up on whether those odds are correct. Now, on to the main event, and I say that very loosely. Kamaru Usman, Dricus Du Plessis. Du Plessis moving into a new fucking weight class gets the minus 250 nod over Kamaru Usman as a plus 190 underdog.
Bruh.
To be honest, I don't think those odds are right either. And God, this is going to hurt to say, but I think they should be a little more heavily favored in Dricus's direction than they should Kamaru's. Because Kamaru, we've obviously seen the fall off. I mean, he's been complaining about his shit knees for fucking years now. Don't get me wrong. To his credit, the dude powers through all of them. He's a former fucking title holder, so he gets all the credit in the world for me. Do I like Marty from Nebraska? I only give 50%. No, but to his credit, he held the title and held it for quite a while. And while all that was going on, fought through the fucking knee problems he had the whole time. So to his credit, hats off on that, but the odds are just, they're not as wide as I think they should be. I think they should be slightly wider. Like Dricus at like a minus 360, Kamaru like a plus 220 to 240, somewhere in there. Now, I'm not a bookie, so you can't make bets with me. Now, if you choose to go somewhere else other than FanDuel, know that your odds are going to vary a little bit. Again, I will not tell you to bet. If you do, don't bet the house. If you do and you win huge and you think we helped in the very tiny slightest, feel free to show your appreciation. There's Patreon information below. Daddy needs a new pair of shoes because I'm not trying to be Carl and have the AI asking me about my Tootsies. If you guys don't get that reference, you need to read some books or listen to audiobooks, one of the two. But that's all I got this week. I'll see y'all on the next one, whenever that next one may be for me, because I don't think I'll be here next week because I have to be prepared for a long, long drive on Friday morning. Anyhow, we may or may not, to be determined. But that's all I got.
Thank you very much, sir. Always appreciated. That, boys and girls, is going to be all we have got for this particular episode. So first and foremost, if you are new here, thank you for tuning into our little circus. We generally try and do this pretty much every Thursday when there are fights to talk about that weekend. We try and go live between 9 and 9:30-ish Central Standard Time, both on youtube.com/@I'mNoJoe. Also dual broadcast to twitch.tv/I'mNoJoe. We do leave the replays up on both platforms as long as they are allowed. So if you miss us live, you can always go back and catch a replay as long as it's up. If you missed the replay on purpose, I understand that. We also own mirrors. And for that reason, the week after we go live, we put the all audio version up over on anchor.fm/I'mNoJoe. You can go over there through your podcast consumption platform of choice, Google, Spotify, Apple, whatever you use to listen to shit. Our podcast is over there in the all audio form for free, just like it is on either of the video platforms. If you like either one of those and you enjoy the content that we get up to around here, first and foremost, the light goes a lot further than you think it would. Subscription helps a lot, but if you do, make sure you turn on that notification bell because YouTube fucking sucks about telling you when we actually go live. If you really like what we get up to around here, first and foremost, share an episode with a friend. Help us grow this damn thing. We'd appreciate it. But if we really tickled your fancy, patreon.com/I'mNoJoe is the best way to help us out. For as little as $1 a month, as much as you are comfortable giving, you will help us do what we do. In exchange for that help, first and foremost, patronage at any level gets your name put on the end of every broadcast on this channel so that everyone can see how fucking awesome you are for helping us do what we do. That being said, more than that, for any paid level, you will get access to the unaired and the unairable, the behind the scenes and all the bullshit. Everything that got us kicked off of OnlyFans as a podcast is up there for all of our patrons to enjoy, as well as Patreon exclusive content, shit that we only make for the folks who kick in a little cash for us to show you that we appreciate your help. The other side of that coin, though, if you don't like what we get up to around here, first and foremost, what the fuck are you still doing this deep into a podcast that you didn't enjoy? Give it a thumbs down and then go fuck yourself because we're not even going to dispute it. That being said, when we wrap things up here on Thursday night, that is not the end of the fun, because even though life is lifing him real fucking hard right now, the kid and his other half drop their podcast pretty much every Friday morning over on Spreaker.com. You can catch the links to their podcast, their socials, and their channel over on the I'm No Joe Discord, all down in the description, whether you're watching or listening to this. And that is not the end of the fun, because even though we don't have a regular Wednesday show over there anymore, you do definitely want to make sure you are subscribed to the Golf T Vapes YouTube channel, because you never know when some random shenaniganry might pop up. And the only way you will be notified is to make sure you are subscribed over there. So go make sure you click those links down in the description as well.
That being said, thanks, sir. Now, just know the chances of something popping up on there are generally slim to none. 99% of the time. I won't say 0.9 because there's always that 1% chance. But in the meantime, since you're bored on Wednesdays and got shit else to do, I hear there's constantly fights going on the Meter's other channel. So if you're wondering about the many things that the Meter does do, you can go to Linktree / the Meter does many things, or Linktree / I'm No Joe. We'll take you to each and every one of the many things that the Meter does do. Go watch that Duke out. Who knows? You might get knocked out too if you choose the right corner.
Absolutely. The month of July has basically been taken over. There are videos every Friday dropping in July as opposed to the regular one a month. There is a new video dropping every Friday this month and a new slow-mo dropping every Sunday to go with it. So if you find yourself a fan of Satan's Jazz Cabbage, you are definitely going to want to click the first link for The Meter Does Many Things. The other side of that coin, though, if you are just here for punchy, kicky purveying, fret not, just click on the I'm No Joe link tree and that will take you to everything that has to do with this show. All of our links are all down in there, whether you are watching or listening, we're accessible. Click the links and check everything out. That being said, that is all we have got for this particular episode. So until next time, boys and girls, remember, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything.
But I wanted to do hood rat stuff with my friend.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times that made